In this video, I am going to share with you a step-by-step pattern for making these cute potatoes, which will be a great add-on for your kids' vegetable baskets. So let's get started. Hey guys, welcome to DIY Crafts. For this, I am using 4-ply 100% cotton yarn and a crochet hook of size 3 mm. Now let us begin by making a magic ring. Make a loop around your finger and now grab the working end from the middle of that loop, and now grab your working end in your left hand, chain 1 and adjust your magic ring if needed. And now let's start making the first round. So for this, make 6 single crochet stitches into the center. So that's the first single stitch, and if you want to mark the beginning of the first row, you can put a stitch marker on the top of the first stitch. So that's the first single stitch in the row 1, and then this is the second one, third, 4, 5 and 6. Now close the magic ring by pulling the tail end tightly. Now let's start making the second row. Remove your stitch marker, and now we are going to start the second row on the top of the first row. So we are not making any slip stitches, so directly put your needle on the top of the first stitch and then start the second row. For second row, we are going to make 2 single crochet stitches in the first stitch. So make for 1 single crochet stitch first and then put back the stitch marker, and this marks the beginning of the second row. Now into the same stitch, make 1 more single stitch. So these 2 stitches together, we call it as a single crochet increase, and now we are going to repeat this pattern for total 6 times. So this is the second repetition. So 2 single stitches into the same stitch, that's a single stitch increase. This is the third single crochet increase, and now make 3 more increases to complete the second row. So here I am making the last increase of the second row. Now by the end of the second row, you will have 12 single crochet stitches, and this is the shape. Now remove your stitch marker and let's start making the third row. So for this, begin with 1 single stitch and put the stitch marker back to mark the beginning of the third row. Then into the next stitch, make a single crochet increase, that is 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch. So that's 1 and then the second one. Now this 1 stitch and then the increase considered as a single set. Repeat this pattern for 5 more times, that is total of 6 times. So we are doing the second repetition, 1 single stitch and then 1 increase. Again 1 single stitch, that's the third repetition we are doing it, and then 1 increase in the next stitch. And repeat this throughout the row until you reach the starting point. The 3 more repetitions, and here we are doing the last set of repetition, that's the 6th set. So 1 single stitch and then make 1 increase, that's 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch. This completes the third row with 18 single crochet stitches. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the fourth row. So start by making 1 single stitch into the next stitch and put the stitch marker back to mark the beginning of the fourth row. Now into the next stitch, make 1 more single stitch, so which makes 2 single crochet stitches in the fourth row. That's 1 and then the second one. And into the next stitch, you have to make an increase, that is 2 single crochet stitches into the same stitch. Now these 2 single stitches and increase will consider it as 1 set, and this set is going to be repeated throughout the row. So 1 single stitch, second single stitch, and then we have an increase, that's 2 single stitches into the same stitch. And now repeat this pattern throughout the row until you reach the starting stitch. Now by the end of the fourth row, you will have 24 single crochet stitches. So that's the last stitch of the 4th row. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 5th row. So for this, begin with 1 single crochet stitch and put the stitch marker back, and this marks the beginning of the 5th row. Now make 1 single crochet stitch in each of the next 2 stitches. So total we'll have 3 single crochet stitches at the start of your 5th row, and into the next stitch make an increase. Now repeat this pattern of 3 single crochet stitches and increase throughout the row for 5 more times. That is the total of 6 times. So that's 1, 2, 3 and then 1 increase, and keep on repeating the pattern. Now by the end of the 5th row, here I am making the last increase of the 5th row. So you'll have 30 single crochet stitches by the end of the 5th row, and this might look a little bit of hexagon shape, but that's okay. Once we start taking the pattern forward, the shape will look round. Now for the 6th row, begin with 1 single stitch and put the stitch marker back, and now continue to make 1 single crochet stitch in each and every stitch throughout the row, and row 6 along with row 7 and row 8 will also have 1 single crochet stitch in each and every stitch, which means in row 6, 7 and 8 we will have 30 single crochet stitches in each and every row. So keep on continuing the pattern of making 1 single stitch in each and every stitch. Do not forget to carry forward the stitch marker after completing each and every row, as it is important to track down which row you are in. So this is the shape after completing 8 rows. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 9th row. For this, again begin with a single crochet stitch and then put the stitch marker back into that stitch to mark the beginning of the 9th row. Now make 3 more single crochet stitches in the next 3 stitches. So that's the first single stitch, second and third. So total we'll have 4 single crochet stitches in 9th row, and then into the next stitch make an increase. Now repeat this pattern of 4 single stitches and increase throughout the row. So that's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now into the next stitch make an increase, and then repeat it throughout the row until you reach the starting point. So total 6 repetitions, you will have 36 single crochet stitches by the end of the 9th row. So here I am making the last increase of the 9th row. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 10th row. So for this, begin with 1 single crochet stitch and put the stitch marker back to mark the beginning of the 10th row. So for the 10th row you have 8 single crochet stitches. The first one is already done, and then this is the second single stitch, that's the third one, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Now into the next stitch we have 8. If you want, you can check the count while making it. Into the next stitch make 1 increase, that's 2 single crochet stitches in the same stitch, and now repeat this pattern of 8 single crochet stitches and increase throughout the row for total 4 times. So we are going to make the last increase of the 10th row, and by the end of this row you will have 40 single crochet stitches. The shape will deviate a little bit as we have added 1 more line of increase in 4 multiple. Now for the 11th row, remove the stitch marker, make 1 single stitch and put the stitch marker back, and now continue to make 1 single crochet stitch in each and every stitch throughout the row. So which means row 11 will have 40 single crochet stitches, and then we are going to repeat this pattern of making one single stitch in each and every stitch for rows 12 until row 15. So in each row you will have 40 single crochet stitches up to row 15. So this is the end of 15th row, and this is the shape you will get after completing your 15 rows. Now let's start making the 16th row. Begin with one single stitch and then put the stitch marker back. From here on we are adding decreases to reduce the shape. So we'll have 3 single crochet stitches, that's 2, and this one is 3. So after 3 single stitches we have an invisible decrease. So for this, insert your needle into the front loops of the next 2 stitches at a time, and now drop a loop and then make a single stitch. So that's your single crochet invisible decrease. And now continue this pattern of 3 single crochet stitches and decrease. That's the second single stitch and then the third one, and again we are going to make an invisible decrease. So insert your needle into front loop of the first and then the second at the same time, and now drop a loop out of both the front loops and make a single stitch, and repeat this throughout the row for 8 times, and you will get 32 single crochet stitches by the end of the 16th row. So here I am making the last invisible decrease of the row 16. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making row 17. See the shape, it's slowly taking the round closing texture shape like. And then next row make one single stitch, put the stitch marker back, and then continue to make one single crochet stitch in each and every stitch throughout the row. Remember, we are not making any increases or decreases in this row, so which means you will have the same number of stitches as in the previous row. In row 16 you have 32 single stitches, so in row 17 also you will have 32 single crochet stitches. I am making the last stitch of row 17, and now remove the stitch marker and let's start make the row 18. Begin with one single stitch and then put the stitch marker back, and this marks the beginning of 18th row. So make 2 single crochet stitches, that's already one is done and that's the second one. And now make one invisible decrease, that's insert your needle into front loops of next 2 stitches and then make a single stitch. And now repeat this pattern of 2 single crochet stitches and then one increase throughout the row for total of 8 times. So this is the second repetition, and likewise repeat it for 6 more times to complete the pattern. And by the end of the 18th row you will have 24 single crochet stitches. Here I am making the last invisible decrease of row 18. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making row 19. See, the decreases will bring the stitches closer to each other. Now begin with one single stitch and put the stitch marker back, and now into the next stitch make one more single stitch. So in 19th row you have 2 single crochet stitches and then make one invisible decrease. So this is having the same pattern as in the previous row, but the number of repetitions will change. So for this row we are going to make 2 single crochet stitch and decrease pattern for 6 times. So by the end of the 19th row you will have 18 single crochet stitches. So making the last invisible decrease, and this completes the 19th row. Now remove the stitch marker and let's start making the 20th row. Begin with one single crochet stitch and then put the stitch marker back, and this marks the beginning of 20th row. Now in the next stitches make one invisible decrease, So grab the front loops of next 2 stitches, drop a loop and single stitch. And now repeat this pattern throughout the row for 6 repetitions. So this one is the second repetition. And likewise repeat it until you reach the starting stitch. So by the end of the 20th row, we'll have 12 single crochet stitches. Now stop your work here and let's add the stuffing to the project to give a nice shape to it. Take a good amount of Fiberfill and stuff it into the project in such a way the shape will retain good. Do not overstuff and at the same time do not understuff. And while putting the stuffing, make sure you put the stuff to the corners first and then stuffing into the center at the last. Once the toy is stuffed sufficient, you can add the detailing like the eyes or a face to it. Here I am just not adding anything as it is for educational purpose and I wanted to give it to the toddlers and I don't want to risk the safety eyes or any other kundan stones or anything. If you wish, you can add eyes, nose and everything to it. Now let's make the last row, that's row 21. Begin with an invisible decrease and put the stitch marker. And in the last row we have all the stitches are invisible decreases. So we have 6 stitches, that's already the first one is done. Then here we are doing the second invisible decrease. And then repeat it until the ending stitch, the last stitch. So this one is the last invisible decrease of row 21 and this completes the pattern for a potato. Now remove the stitch marker and let's close the project. So for this make the slip stitch into the next stitch, then make chain 1 and then leave a long tail end. We are going to use this tail end to give the detailing to the project. As you can see, the shape resembles a shape of an egg. So we don't want to mix up egg with potato. So for that and also to give the natural look for the potato, we are going to use this tail end and give a small dents to the project. And this one is made as shown in the video. So just follow the instructions. So for this, take the tail end into the tapestry needle and now insert your needle through the front loops of all the stitches in the last row and gently pull the tail end to close that opening and the close part. And then into the next stitch, make a knot to secure your work. Now insert your tapestry needle from the center of the last row and randomly at across any of the stitches, take the needle out and pass the needle again back into the stuffing from the next row to give the dent shape, dent look. So pull it a little bit to hold the shape of a dent and randomly insert and pass the needle through the stuffing and take it out from the other corner. Then repeat this process for a couple of times to give nice dents to the project. And now to hold the shape, to hold the position of the dent, you have to pull the tail end a little bit stronger, and to secure the dent shape, make a knot on at the bottom of the potato and then hide the excess thread by pushing the excess thread into the stuffing and then trim the excess thread close to the project. Adjust the stuffing and that's it, your cute potato is now ready. I hope you all enjoyed watching this tutorial. The written pattern for this project is given in the description. Do check it out. Do give this pattern a try and let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. See you all in the next video. Thank you for watching. Please like the video, share it and subscribe to DIY Crafts.